Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 7 of Direwolf20's Space Engineers series. I am hanging out in my creative world, as you can tell, because I want to build a new mining ship. The one I've got currently is great for I don't have any resources and I want to get started mining, but I want to make a new one that's going to be really good. I've actually used this one in previous playthroughs, so this is not a new ship that I'm building, really. So it's more a ship that you guys are going to get to see that I've played with in the past, and I can't wait to show you because it's, in my opinion, a lot of fun to play with. However, before we take a look at that ship, there's a couple things I want to introduce you to. One of those things is called a piston. Pistons are neat because they can do some very cool things. Boom, I'm going to pop that guy down there. So the piston is cool. First off, you might notice that there is an inventory connector on the piston, which allows you to access it. So if your piston is attached to a tube network, which I'll demonstrate probably over here. So there's a conveyor system, right? Cargo container, actually. So we'll call this, this is cargo container 2, I believe. So if I place my piston on there, boom, and then I place another, let's say, we'll access the connector, that's fine. We'll put the connector on this thing. What's really cool about pistons is they act as conveyor tubes as well as pistons. And by piston, I mean it can extend. So if we come into the piston's control panel here, we'll see some things. The normal set of options on the top, whether or not the block is powered on or off, whether or not it's shown in the terminal, and whether it's shown in the toolbar config. Also, its name, which is just piston 2. And whether or not it's shown on HUD. We haven't looked at that yet, but we'll talk about it. The other settings are velocity, which is by default set at -0.5, which means it's trying to close. It's minimal distance, which means how far it can close, which is 0 meters, right? Which it's currently at. It's maximum distance, which means how far it can extend. And those are basically the settings. So if I hit reverse here, it'll switch the velocity to 0.5, and the piston will extend all the way out to 10 meters. How cool is that? So if we access the control panel here with K, we'll see that we're about halfway extended, and it's got more to go. Very cool. And of course, we can adjust this speed as we wish. So, we can go into the control panel here. We can bump this guy up to 2.5. We'll see that, he's extended pretty far. And when I hit reverse, he retracts a lot faster. Nice. Very cool, right? So those are pistons. However, there's something very cool about them that I want you guys to be aware of. So if I open the inventory here, we'll see that our connector, I can put stuff inside it, and then I can also transfer it to some of the things that exist around here, like this large cargo container. That's because the piston is acting like one of these conveyor tubes. Very cool. The other thing about the piston is that it actually separates the main grid from the grid that it's connected to. So we haven't talked about grids too much, but a grid is basically a collection of blocks. All the blocks are connected. They all share power, and it's basically one giant station. Now, power can flow through connectors just like items can. However, the blocks on the other side are actually on a separate grid, and you can tell this by looking at the colors on your control panel screen. See how the connector over here is a different color. This is an indication that it's on a different grid from the main one that we're looking at. In fact, if we looked at the inventory screen here and we looked at the control panel, we'll see that aside from the connector we're looking at, everything is orange in color. So they're all on a different grid than this one is. Pretty cool. So that's something important to keep in mind. And the reason I want you guys to keep that in mind is because what we're about to do is going to have an impact with regards to grids. Because I'm going to build a really cool mining ship, or I should say I've already built a really cool mining ship, and here it is. Now, it's made up of pistons, so what you'll find is that many of these drills are actually hooked up on a different grid. And we're going to be looking at how this ship works, and we're going to work with it in a bit here, but if you look at the drills, you'll see that there are many different colors here, because there are many different grids, and each drill is basically on its own grid, as are some of the pistons. Cool. Now, the piston that I just showed you is the vanilla piston. However, I have a mod in my mod pack that expands pistons. And if we look, we'll see that there are actually several different kinds of pistons available. This is the vanilla piston. That's all there is. These, piston tiny, piston long, piston tiny wide, piston wide, and piston long wide, are all extra pistons added by a mod. Cool. there's one other thing I want to tell you about this mod, and it's something that you'll find as you start working with mods. There are two ways to run Space Engineers. And if I go into my options and my graphics screen, you'll see that the render can either be DirectX 11 or DirectX 9. Some of you may be playing in DirectX 9, some of you may be playing in DirectX 11. I play in 11. I like the way it looks. I think it looks pretty cool. The only thing is that 11 was added later on in the life cycle of Space Engineers. Most mods have caught up to the fact that there's a DirectX 11. Some have not. And the Pistons mod has not. Unfortunately, there's no other mod like it. It just doesn't have a really good render. So what you'll find is any mods that don't support DX11 will be showing their renders in this kind of just like all black color. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. But I want you guys just to know about it. So I've got my cool mining ship here. So take a look at this. So first off, I can extend the pistons. Doom. Nice. And the way this ship is built is the grinders on the front are like almost perfectly spaced. So let's see, I want to zoom out a little bit here. There we go. Almost perfectly spaced grinders so that it will grind all the rock in front of it. If there was any more spacing between them, it would probably start missing some of the rocks. So I'm going to demonstrate mining just a little bit with this monster ship that I've got, and then we'll talk a little bit more about stuff. So you can see here, obviously, it can make a pretty sizable hole in almost any asteroid. That's why I like this ship, because it's not terribly expensive to build. Plus, it has the really cool piston effects, which I think are just neat and fun to watch, and it can really mine a lot of stuff. So that's what we're going to be building, hopefully, today in our survival world. Now, there's one or two other things I want to point out on the ship before we get to building it. So we've got thrusters here, we've got a bunch of gyroscopes. I don't think I have a remote control module installed here, so I will probably want to get one of those. I just have to find a good place for it. I haven't figured out exactly where I want to put that thing. But we also do have a couple of very large cargo containers. Nice. So these cargo containers can actually store a lot of volume, much more than the medium-sized ones we've got on our current rig. So we'll be checking them out, and it's also got two of them. So hopefully we can go mine, we can get a lot of minerals in a very quick way, and we can store a lot on the ship before we have to go back. So we'll be checking that out. I'm probably going to make a couple little tweaks here because this is somewhat of an older design ship and I want to modify a few things. So let's come back in a minute and I'll be in my survival world where we will start making this ship. Alright guys, we are back in our survival world. So I've done a little bit of work between last episode and this one. Number one, I went mining a bit, and you can see I'm actually refining some iron right now. So that's kind of filling up there, I guess, unless it finished. Arc furnace? Oh, it just finished. Nice. So we're refining some iron, that's all good. I also did some production, and if we check the inventory over here of the ship, I guess I can talk to Basic Welder 1. We check the inventory. So by the way, you'll notice that there's a lot of colored modules here because everything that's white on the screen is connected to Basic Welder 1, like the camera and the antenna and the welder chest. Everything that's orange is connected to the station. So anything through a connector is also going to be shown here in a different color. So that's just something to note. Cool. So if we take a look at our components here, we'll see that we've got a decent amount of components filled up. I've actually almost completely filled the volume of my medium cargo container that's sitting inside that welding ship. So I went up and made it 1,100 steel plates, and then I left it at 100 of everything else. So we should see a bunch of other things in there. Very cool. Let's get building an Uber miner. Life support low, that's not good. I'll be back once I heal back up my energy. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is activate this projector. So let's go to the control panel here, projector, blueprints, let's bring in Dire Miner 1, and hopefully it's going to fit. What is up? Incorrect grid size. Oh, no wait. That should actually be okay. Projector, blueprints, Dire Miner 1. That's Dire Big Miner. I want Dire Miner 1. We'll see Dire Big Miner later on. Dire Miner 1. Load that up there. We go. Now we're talking. Now, remember, it's still configured to be in only show what can be welded mode. So let's go into that. We're going to turn that off. And now we can see, nice, the whole thing there ready to go. It looks to me like this might be just a little bit too low, and it's going to encroach upon the bottom of the station. So what I'm going to go into here, I'm going to go to my control panel for my projector, and we're going to do vertical offset on the plus, and that should bump it up. Is that cool? So that brings it up a little bit higher, and now we don't have any worries about it being there. Now, one thing you might notice is missing most of the drills. So here's a limitation of the projector. It cannot project beyond one grid size. So you'll notice that it places down up to the pistons and then it stops. So we're gonna have to manually add those, but everything else is in place. You'll notice that I added a remote control module here in the back, and I rewired a little bit of the tubing system downstairs. Cool. So now all we need to do to get this thing running is boom, 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 right up to about here, hopefully. Steel plate, I ran out. I had one too short. Let's get about a few more of those, actually. Nice. That looks good. So if I want to, I can start welding this little piece. And then I'm going to leave it attached for now. But what I'm going to do is jump into the remote control of my basic welder and get this thing up and running. So where's my remote control? Activate U. And we're going to disengage our lock, fly away, turn on our camera, and get up in mind. So let's see if, ooh, good, my spotlights are working now. That's cool. Very nice. All right, so I should be able to just fly right over here and turn on my welders. Nice, look at that. So that's why having a welding ship is very cool. We can see it kind of welding there. We're going to want to keep an eye on the inventory, but for now it's doing a pretty good job of welding what it's supposed to be welding. Basic welder, remote control. Just bringing it in a little bit closer. So it's probably run out of some stuff. Let's check the inventory here and see what we're low on. We're not low on steel plates, that's for sure. Looks like interior plates is probably something we're low on, and construction components. That seems reasonable. So luckily, when there's just a small amount of stuff that's needed, you can just drop it in the connector directly, and it'll get sucked into the inventory as appropriate. So I'm just going to make a bunch of interior plates and more construction components. As you can see, this should help kick things into gear. So if we drop these guys in, there it is. It was construction components and interior plates probably that it needed more of. Nice. I know there's a lot of interior plates needed for those guys up there, the cargo containers. So let's see, now what might you be low on? Because you should actually be in pretty good shape. Maybe more. So you've got displays, computers, motors. So let me play with this a little bit and figure out what he might be missing. Oh, you know what? He might be missing grids, metal grids. So let's produce about 100 of those. That should be good for now. Hopefully you've got enough stuff. Yeah, you're all right. Nice. So I know that's probably needed for the reactors in the background. Yep, that was a good guess. Nice. Look at that, welding up. So we can see some reactors in the back there, which we'll talk about in a moment. Cool. A bunch of thrusters being placed. So I'm going to let this thing kind of do its welding job. And come back here in a minute, probably, once we've got either some progress done or something to see. Alright guys, as you can see, the ship is actually coming together pretty nicely. I can see the pistons getting welded on there now. Nice. It's actually a little bright with that spotlight on there. Let me turn the lights off. It's a little bit better. It's funny that... Basic welder 1 lights. Let's see. Oh, that's why. When I replaced the light originally, I think there we go. Now it's off. Nice. So let's just check. Basic welder 1, let's turn off the welders. Is everything in place and functional? It looks like it, to be honest with you. Nice. If we check the control panel, it'll tell you, tiny piston 8 and 9, incomplete. Where are those guys? Tiny piston. Some of these pistons are incomplete somewhere. We'll be able to find it eventually. It's probably just missing something small and easy. This, by the way, is another good way to figure out what's missing. Motors. I need more motors. You can just check the control panel for anything that's not, like, finished, and then go look for that block in your structure, and you'll be able to figure out, okay, now I know what's not missing or what is missing, etc. Cool. We might be shy. We've got interior plates. We've got construction components, computers. We should be... Oh, right. I have to turn the welders back on. Like, why isn't it welding? That's either... Dire derping it up. All right. Welder is off. Nice. So there's one thing that this ship needs beyond the rest of its mining drills. Actually, it's curious to me that this doesn't have a drill attachment to it, but that's okay. What does the ship need? Fuel. That's right. So one thing that's cool about this ship is I've got small curved tubes going to conveyors and into small reactors like so. So I've actually got the reactors hooked up to the tubing system. And if we go into here, we can go to our control panel. We can check out our small reactors. And I'm going to name them uranium:1. I'm going to copy this. And if we check this out, so I'm going to grab like... let's say 10 uranium. I'm going to put it in the connector here. And it should snag one. Oh, right, there's one more thing I have to do. Control panel, reactors. Reactors will just snag uranium as available. So I want to turn off. Small reactor, use conveyor system. Let me turn all these off real quick. So what I'm doing here, guys, is in the connector, I've got 8 uranium ingots, and we can see that as I name this, so small reactor 2, for example, if we go in here to small reactor 2 and I paste in that uranium:1, it's going to always keep 1 uranium ingot inside that small reactor 2. Nice. So by doing this, there's 2 things that we've got going on now. One, we're able to automatically keep a certain amount of fuel in each reactor, which is very nice. Number 2, whenever we dock, it should automatically refuel the ship because it'll pull the uranium through the connector at the docking mechanic. So not only will it refill or empty out all its ores, right, because we'll have ores. I'm going to take the uranium out of the connector. He doesn't need to be there anymore. But basically, we don't have to worry about the ores getting dumped out, because when it connects, the ores will get sucked through the connector into the refineries. But also, when he connects, the reactors will suck in any uranium that they need. So the only other uranium level here is this one. That one's off because it's actually this reactor. So I'm actually going to change your name there. Get rid of this stuff, because you don't actually apply here. Small reactor, we'll name it projector, so we know it's the projector reactor. And then, you know, we're cool. So let's set this ship free. There, we've just separated him from the system, so now he's no longer part of that small ship that has the projector on it, and we can see him as his own separate entity. So the only thing that he doesn't have at this point is this guy, so could weld him manually if I wanted to, but I don't, so there. Also, it looks like the projector's still on, so I'm going to go into the control panel, projector, toggle block. Or I'm going to actually just remove the blueprint. There we go. And then what I'll do, just to make things easier, is I'll throw the thruster on there myself. So I'm going to need large steel tube, thruster, construction component, and steel plate. Large steel tube, we just want 1. Thruster component 1. And construction component, I'll just grab 10, so that won't be a big deal. And we've got a pretty cool looking mining ship. So the only other thing to do is manually add the drills, which we'll do in a moment here. Alright guys, so now it's time to hook this guy up. So here's the pattern that we will be following for the following stuff. First step is you're going to place a conveyor tube. Oh wait, I need interior plates for conveyor tubes, that's right. I'm also going to want a conveyor block. A small conveyor block. I forgot to put that on my hotbar, so I might as well. There it is, small conveyor. That goes there, and interior plates. Yeah, 100 should be plenty. So there we go. Let's try that again. So we want a small conveyor tube, and then a conveyor. and the drill goes on the conveyor. So the pattern is conveyor, tube, piston, tube, conveyor. Cool. So let's do that again. Tube, piston, tube, conveyor. And then the drills should be placed on there, and you'll know it's right when it turns green. Like, you can't put a drill on there. So see how it's not working unless it's actually on the conveyor. Cool. So I'm going to put them out like 2. That should be good. So let's do that again, right? So we've already got conveyor, tube, piston. So we need tube, conveyor, tube, piston, tube, conveyor. Nice. There and there. Cool, right? So let's get those all welded up, courtesy of my basic welder. Remote control, go. Flying over. And kick on the welders. I might need a few more components or something, but I'll deal with that as it crops up. Nice. Alright, so I'm definitely short on something here. Something that the drills need, and probably a few other things. So maybe I'll dock this guy and get him just a new set of stuff. I'm going to dock him manually because autopilot's been a little bit funny, like I mentioned in the last video in this latest patch. I'm hoping that it's fixed next patch. I submitted a bug report. Usually, in previous games that I've played with this series, like, autopilot's been very reliable. So I think it's just a little bug that was introduced in the last version. So let's see. There we go. Nice. And lock. And make sure you get everything you need. And I'm just going to go double check. What were you short on? Construction components. I could have guessed. So hopefully you've got enough. So the welder inventory, actually, we're completely out. So let's make some. I'm going to make about 200. There we go. A few construction components later, and that's sufficient. Nice. I'm going to back up a little bit and go into remote control mode for this. Make sure everything's properly welded. Turn on the spotlights if you need. That looks good to me. All right, time for another set. I'm going to get the next 4 rows done off camera because it'll just be a minute or two, and you guys already know what I'm doing, so no need to repeat what I've already done. So back in a minute. So I think I'm done. Ooh, I'm excited. I really like this mining ship. I do. It's partly just extravagant and partly just a lot of fun. What I think is really neat about it is mostly just the pistons and the way it looks when it extends. So there's a few things we're gonna have to manually configure here. So let's go into our control panel. First off, I want to give it a name. We'll call it Dire Miner Mark II. Okay. Oh, and I'll publish this to the workshop for you guys as well. Just keep in mind you'll have to add the extra drills. But let's go to the inventory here. So control panel. First thing we'll want to get is drills. So let's make sure our drills are up to date. You'll notice that not everything is highlighted because even though it stored the memory of, you know, the block group from when we imported it, remember it only imported 3 drills with the machine. So let's just go ahead and get all these guys. In fact, I'll just click that and hit save. And now the drills should be all activated. So if we take a look, nice, that's cool. All right, and then the same for the pistons. Cool, so all these pistons need to be added to the block group. So now that when I hit the extend button here, nice. So by the way, the control for this, it's just when you drag it in here, the option you want to choose is reverse. Cool. So extend, retract, or reverse just reverses it, right? So that'll be boom and boom. Nice. And then the only other thing we have here is the connector I had. So down here I will set toggle block on off. I'll probably set that to 5 like I've been doing. And then switch lock on 6. Cool. So he should be pretty ready to go. Should we go give him a try? Yeah, I think we should. I'm just going to go fly up here. So one thing that I should also note is that this ship was made a little bit ago, not terribly long ago, but long enough ago that there was a patch that changed the way some of the functionality of the game worked, and the thrusters on this ship are probably going to be a little bit not enough for what we want to do. Let's see. So first off, if we take a look, we should see everything landing in our cargo container. Nice. If we kind of go in here, I'm going to turn off inertial dampeners, and you can see my speed is about 0.5 meters per second. This is a neat little trick. The drills are running, they're mining the stuff. With the inertial dampeners off, it'll continue moving forward. You might need to turn them back on every now and then just to let things smooth out. Also keep in mind the added weight is going to be pretty rough. For now, because I'm having the autopilot issues, docking I'm going to hold off on, but look how much iron we've mined already. Like, I've almost filled up a large cargo container. Keep in mind that the medium cargo container is about 10,000, and we've just mined 23,000. So I've already mined twice as much as my old ship is capable of holding. So think about that for a second. I'm probably only going to fill up one cargo container. We'll see. Yeah, because I'm mining quite a lot of iron right now. This ship is really pretty good at mining, but it's not the best one that I've got. I've got other more advanced ships that are way more expensive, and we're going to probably not get to for a while. But this is definitely a good earlier middle game kind of mining ship. So in the distant future, we'll have more mining ships available to us, but for now this is good. Look at that, 125,000 units of ore. All right, I'm going to stop mining for now. Retract my guys. Be careful backing out, because the mass of this ship is huge. Once it's filled up all the ore in one of its cargo containers, it's really quite a large ship, and you want to back out very slowly. Because what you will find, first off, is that it's a little bit hard to maneuver, especially when you're at a complete stop. So once you're moving, you're okay. But let's see. Nice. I got out of the cave that I made. So let's come to a complete stop. I'm just going to hit reverse thruster on this. You'll notice I'm like not even moving at all because I've only got 3 small thrusters down there. Told you we were a little bit shy on thruster speed because of a patch that went out, I don't know, a couple months ago that changed the way mass is calculated on your ship, which is kind of a good thing. It was like a good patch. I liked it because it made it a little bit trickier. So the other thing you have to keep in mind is just if you like wiggle your ship up and down a little bit, if you're stuck, it'll get you going. So I'm going to go ahead and dock this dude manually. Because the other thing is when he comes in for automatic docking, remember how the other ship was causing a little bit of damage to the connector? You want to be really careful about that. You might actually destroy your connector, but we'll see what happens. So let's come in here. We'll back in ever so gently, nice and slow. I might even turn my connector off just to be extra safe and make sure that we are in like a really good position here before I turn it on. Good. So see how we didn't snap in? I made sure I was really close on the connector before I turned it on, and now I can lock it. And if we check our large cargo container, what we should probably find is that he still has ore in his backlog. So we don't have enough room on our station to store all the ore that we just mined. Our refinery is full, and our arc furnace is full. So we're going to need some more refineries pretty soon. But another thing I'm going to do right now is, real quick, this cargo container, which is kind of holding almost nothing except a bunch of extra junk that I've got laying around, I'm going to grind down. And I'm going to place it over here. So let's go. Is that a cargo container or is that a conveyor? That's a conveyor. So a small cargo container on 6. I'm going to put this guy here. Weld him up. And this is going to be my ore backlog. So if we take a look at the control panel here, if we look at our refinery, we'll see that it's ore priority 5. So I'm going to change the control panel on this guy. Whoops, don't take your helmet off by mistake, Direwolf. Small cargo container 4, I'm going to call it ore backlog, ore P10. So his priority is 10. If we look in the inventory now, we'll see that all the ore landed in here. So this is going to basically be a backlog. If this ship docks and the arc furnace and the refinery are full, all the ore is going to go here as another resource. So priority 10, a higher number, then so the lower priority, the higher the priority, right? The higher the number, the lower priority. So if we look at our refinery, for example, we'll see that priority 5 there, right? In this guy, it's quickly burning through iron. Iron refines very quickly. Other ores, not so much. So if we look in here, nice. So that chest, or that cargo container, if you will, is going to be responsible for the backlog. You can see it's already emptied itself out now. Suit energy low. My oh my. If we take a look at our refinery here, this thing is going to not only refine itself, but it will also be responsible. It'll get pulled out by the other arc furnace, as we know. This thing will keep filling itself up because he is priority 1. Nice. Cool. So let's come back in a moment. So believe it or not, this much ore in terms of iron isn't terribly bad, but if we got that much ore from any other resource like cobalt or nickel or something, it would actually take a really long time to refine. So at some point very soon, we're probably going to want to get a couple more refineries here, and we'll try and load balance them so that it pretty much tries to do its best to keep them all running at the same time. And there's a couple tricks we can do for that. However, for now, it does appear to be wrapping up point for the episode. So the cargo container here is empty. I'm going to turn off my docking mechanism. I'm going to fly this ship out of here. And next episode, we'll come back, and I may have mined a little bit between now and then or not. We'll see. I'll figure something out. And there's a couple other things that we should get working on. Now that we've got a large supply of iron, by the way, tons of it. If we look in here, we can see we've already got like 70k iron. And if we look in our refinery, we're still refining quite a bit, as well as the arc furnace. So tons of iron left to refine. This gives us a lot more resources to continue to build a base. So we might want to do that. I want to expand the refineries. I want to expand this base a little bit. I probably wouldn't mind a few more assemblers. And then we'll get into some further steps towards automation. I'd like to have a lot more automation going on because right now there's a lot of manual labor going on in my base. Plenty of cool things that I have planned for the future of this series. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. And by the way, if anybody's wondering, I will be doing world uploads, probably like before, every 10 episodes. And I can upload them through the Steam Workshop in just the same way that I uploaded it. Oh, speaking of, let's get Dire Miner 1 published. Can I do that? So let's go details. Can I edit this or something? Let's see, rename, now Dire Miner 1, publish. That's fine. I'll publish it to the workshop. It'll be in the same place as the other stuff, so that's cool. Okay, uploading. Nice. So just remember, you'll have to expand it with the pistons, and obviously you have to have that pistons mod for this thing to work, but there you go. So for now, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll be back next time to do some other cool stuff. But for now, I'm really happy with the progress that we've made. All right, guys, take it easy.